Welcome to the podcast. Sofiya Pierce is one of our first team members who joined Trybe. And today we're going to be diving deep into some of the stories of your own hero's journey, right? I'm excited about that, Sofiya. But also I want to, touch base on things, why you resonated with Trybe, why did you join our team, why did you, come into, our team and everything that you're connected with our vision and mission. But it all started with a slide deck. You built a slide deck for us. You sent it to Jess, you sent it to myself, and the story started over there. So why don't you
Yeah,
tell us a little bit of your origin story of, how you ended up working here at Trybe? Because now it started with the slide deck, but now you're working on multiple projects. You're almost like leading and coordinating many, in between many teams, and you become like a lead coordinator between so many things that we're doing at Trybe, and it's all happening at a very rapid pace. But it started with that slide deck. Tell us the story that inspired you to take that first step and that first action that landed you here today.
of course. I'm really excited for this podcast, first of all. So, yeah, it started a while ago. I believe it was middle of fall when I sent you the slide deck. So, I wouldn't say there was like an inspirational story behind it. I was just trying to make money online. I was like doing everything I can. I heard that if you send out presentations to people, then it may increase the chance of them getting on a call with you. So Sheldon was the first person that I did that, and actually did 27 slides on the presentation because I didn't realize it is too much. I wanted to just give as much value as I possibly can. And I've seen that, like, I went on Sheldon's profile on school and I've seen the community. I thought that it was really cool because not many people offer services at that stage on school specifically, just on the stage when you actually need to be hiring a team. So that's why I was interested in him as a potential prospect for myself. So yeah, I actually went a couple of days at it. Like I was sleeping for 4 hours trying to do the slide deck. So yeah, and then I sent it to him, and we got started on a pretty awesome conversation that led to all of this.
That's right. That was a pretty, yeah. When you sent me the slide, I was like, wow, someone just spent all this time putting together like a whole presentation and a whole, thought about a company. You'd even taken like brand guidelines. You didn't even have the brand guidelines. You went and you created the whole slide with our, brand colors and everything. And I remember showing Jess this, and she was like, wow, someone actually did all of this, like to put all this work together. I was like, yeah, let's give some feedback and mentorship to this person because they've taken such an effort. At that time when we were looking at the slide deck, I had no idea that you would end up becoming one of our first team members on our team and end up being in so many different projects that we're working on right now. And but most importantly, what I'm still, grateful for is how much you resonate with our mission, our purpose, the why behind why Tribe exists. So if you had to explain to someone today who's watching this, what is Tribe's mission? What's our purpose? What's our why? And why did it resonate with you? How would you explain it to them?
Yes. I personally myself have some history with not the best jobs that I've been at, as well as my family. So that was the first thing that I resonated with Tribe's mission because I believe we jumped on a call and then you told me about it. It's building 1 million companies that have thriving workplaces and 1 billion people who are working at those companies and are thriving in those thriving workplaces. So it's just building healthy company culture. It's not, I don't know, making your employees just grind it out. And yeah, I mean, it feels right, to be honest, how it's supposed to be. Because again, at many jobs that I've been at, there were toxic workplaces, there were toxic bosses.
Mhm.
So yeah, a tribe is just different. It feels good to be at work. I would say that.
Yeah, and that's what we want for everyone, right? I mean, I personally have been in many jobs through my whole career, 20 years, been doing this now, where I dreaded Monday mornings, right? Even though I was performing really well, I was doing a good job. I dreaded going into the environments that were filled with so much of toxicity and a lot of intimidation, unrealistic competition. And yeah, I truly believe that work needs to change. The workplace needs to change, and it's the leaders who are going to change the workplace into thriving communities. And that's what our vision is. We envision a world where leaders are transforming workplaces into thriving communities. And our personal values for our company are: we see the person first, support them in the rumble, and then let's go make things actionable. I think we want to be a human first, company where we are, looking at the human being first, and going from there. And that's what you're noticing, right, in our company right now. Even though
Yes.
we're early stage, we're just kickstarting Trybe as a brand, as a startup. You're already noticing that. So, what is the excitement? What's the feelings you get as someone working in this company, and what keeps coming, like, bring you back for more, as compared to some of the other places you worked at?
Yeah. Yeah, I would actually want to just double down on your point about the values, because see the person first was actually the value that resonated with me the most when I first heard it. And I've seen it being displayed at Trybe at all times. So we always see the person first, no matter what's happening. And that gives you, I would say, safety to, like, if you even make mistakes, it's fine. We still see the person first. And for me, what brings me back to Trybe day after day and keeps me, I don't know, happy working, it's the mission that I know that I'm truly doing something good. I know that I'm going to be helping people. And yeah, I would say that would be the main thing for me, because I know that Trybe is going in the right direction, and I'm happy to go in that direction as well.
Yeah, and what a beautiful world it will be. Just, where, like, as you mentioned it, my vision and my goal is, we see 1 million founders creating happy and fulfilled workplaces, right? And 1 billion people in happy and fulfilled workplaces.
Yes,
I don't think there are that many people right now in happy and fulfilled workplaces. It's
very
unfortunate. We have
few.
8 billion people on this planet, and we're just talking about 1 billion being happy and fulfilled. And I don't think that exists right now. There are quite a few pockets, where people are happy and fulfilled at work. But the stories that I hear out there, the stories that you probably hear out there, the stories that we see on social media, people are just frustrated, feeling unsafe. There's no psychological safety in the workplace. They're feeling threatened whether they will have their job tomorrow or not. There's layoffs, there's a recession, there's all of the stuff that's happened after the pandemic. It's a tough world out there right now. But one place where we have to keep coming back to every day, we collect together as a group of people, is work. That's our
Yeah.
tribe. That's workplace has become our new tribe, which is why our company is named Trybe. And we do want to see a world where, people are thriving and fulfilled at work, not just surviving, right? And we've already started experiencing that in our own team as well. Um, what is your kind of, you said, you've gone through some bad experiences in the workplace, and there are many who are probably listening to this, who have gone through their own hero's journey of trials and tribulations, challenges, surviving, struggling. What are some of the challenges and struggles you've experienced in the workplace before?
Yeah, I would say they're relatively common, especially for people at my age. So I worked at McDonald's, it was my first ever job. It just wasn't great. Like, I hated going there. So it was minimum wage job. And yeah, the only reason I wanted to, like, I didn't want to work there. I just wanted the money that it gives. So that's like the only reason. So yeah, rude customers, rude colleagues. It's you don't feel like you're appreciated, and always feel like you're not doing enough, even though you're getting paid like $10 an hour. So yeah, like, it was just not good in general. Like, I feel like in most fast food, probably, like, yeah, yeah, I would say in most fast food jobs, it's this way. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's a pretty standard experience, and it's overall 2 out of 10.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Is there like a particular story that comes to mind that, you
Mhm.
know, often we kind of find ways to protect ourselves in our minds with our memories and stories that have happened to us, right? And we create protection mechanisms within our psychology and stuff like that. Is there something that happened that wasn't good to experience, but was formative for you to realize, wow, this is not how work should be. I don't like this. Why are people being treated this way? Is there a particular story that comes to mind that you went?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I had a colleague that we didn't get along with.
Mhm.
So when I was doing my job, she was just yelling because she was a cook, and she was always at the stove flipping the burgers. So she was saying that, "Oh my god, I wish you quit!" Like just yelling stuff like that. It didn't bother me specifically, but it just wasn't nice. And most people out there were like the same attitude. And when you were working in that environment for a long period of time, you kind of um, get to that attitude as well. I feel like I didn't want that to myself, and I quit probably like a few weeks after that. So that was probably like the last straw for me.
Mhm.
There was like many little things I would say. So just yeah, just being rude in general. Um, yeah, that was probably the story that's most memorable to me because it was like 2 years ago. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. And yeah, it's the emotion behind it as well, right? Like the way
yeah,
you're being treated in that moment, and
yes,
it feels like the person's not seeing the person first at all, right?
yeah,
You're not treating you as a human being, but just as someone who's here as a someone to take care of things or serve or be a servant or whatever. And it leaves an impression, right? And I think a lot of people are going through this in their workplaces where they do not feel seen, they do not feel appreciated. There's no acknowledgement for all the effort that they're putting into, and that's where work becomes so tainted, because now it's just like I'm showing up to this place to earn some money to pay my bills, but it's sucking out the soul. And I don't know if you know about this, but the whole humanness being sucked out of the workplace was something that started to happen more so in the 1970s. It's not something that has
mm,
existed all the time. And I think it has now become a norm. But in the 1970s, there was this whole thing called Milton Friedman came up with this shareholder supremacy thing, where it was all about, let's make money to, fill the pockets of the shareholders. All
yeah,
right. And Simon Sinek, someone who I look up to, is a mentor that I've like looked up to for a long time, read all his books. He talks about, building companies that are focused on your why, like start with the why, right? But when this happened, uh, a complete shift happened in the workplace where a lot of people started getting fired and laid off and stuff like that without any reason, just to balance the books, to impress the bankers and impress the investors. And I think since that time, kind of a shift has happened where people are not treating each other in a kind way, in a compassionate way at work. In fact, before that time, there are stories about workplaces treated people like they were their own family members, and they took care of them, and they shared the wealth together, whatever they created together. They would have special get-togethers for their employees and stuff like that. And all of that started getting eroded over time, and now your generation is witnessing just the complete stripped out version of a workplace where there is no humanness anywhere. And it's really hard to live in a world where you have to show up to a place consistently to make money, to pay your bills and all of that, and then you are treated like this, right? And we don't want that. We don't want that. But what advice would you give to someone who's going through what you went through in that job? Like someone's out there right now working a job similar to what you were working in, and is going through that pain right now. And you said you experienced that about 2 years ago. You've gone through your own healing journey with this. What words of encouragement would you say to them if they're going through that right now?
I would say that it's not going to last forever. You're not there for a lifetime. And in terms of advice, I would say just try getting an hour or two here and there between school or college and job or whatever, and try to improve your skills. Try to improve your skill set in whatever you can. And you can try to start working for a startup, or you can do freelance. And over time, it will just replace your current income. And that way you can just get out of that job and it won't be as painful as just leaving and trying to figure it out.
Hmm. No, that's great advice. That's great advice. And you mentioned like go and start and work in a startup. A startup is a tough environment to be in. You're in that
Yes.
environment, especially in early stage startup like what we're trying to build here. There's a lot of uncertainty. There's a lot of you know what do you call it, ambiguity. Like you're still trying to figure things out. You're still trying to like haven't found the repeatable models yet. And did you know that you had an entrepreneurial streak to you when you like as you were going through school and stuff like that? Did you know like this was something you wanted to do? Because it takes an entrepreneur to work in an entrepreneurial startup to recognize, wow, I'm actually an entrepreneur and I love this kind of every day trying to solve problems and stuff like that. But most people are not like that. So the advice of like go and work with a startup, entrepreneurship has become like this thing. It's a cool thing today, right? And most people are like, yeah, I want to build a startup, I want to work in a startup. You have now experienced working in a startup and in the hardest time of a startup where it's like we're really trying to bootstrap everything, really trying to make things happen. Every day is different. There's lots of challenges. Things don't work. What advice would you give to people who are like thinking about entrepreneurship like this beautiful dream, like I pushed the entrepreneurship button and now I'm now Elon Musk? No, that's not how it works, right? It's hard, it's treacherous. There's a lot of challenges and stuff, but there's also a lot of fulfillment in that journey. What have you learned from first recognizing that you had this entrepreneurial streak, and then what advice would you give to someone who's trying to get into the startup environment?
Yeah, sure. I would say that I knew for sure that I want to be an entrepreneur way before McDonald's. So, yeah,
How was that? Like, how did you know? Like, how did you come to that realization?
I guess I just never really wanted to have a job. I never wanted to work for someone, but I guess that was because I didn't realize that a job can be good. So, that's definitely a part of it. But I also wanted to support my parents. There was a lot in that because that was the time when we just moved countries. So we moved from Uzbekistan to US, and in the span of a couple of months, I figured that we need some money, and I just started like binge watching YouTube as soon as I started speaking English. Um, and that's when I found out about affiliate marketing, drop shipping, stuff like that. And I started 8 businesses, sort of, which all
Wow.
failed before I started working at McDonald's,
Can you
which
give us a good countdown of all the eight that you tried?
I don't think I can remember all 8. I know for
Give us a
sure.
few. Give us a few.
Yes, yes. It was one drop shipping site. Then I tried day trading. Then it was Etsy, Amazon FBA, Fiverr as a freelancer. And I think I just tried, I also even opened up an LLC for a truck company. So yeah, there was a lot of random stuff. And I
Mhm.
tried them to like a couple of times each. So for dropshipping, I feel like I did 3 sites. I think so. So yeah, yeah, it was a lot, and I was trying, and I wasn't sticking with it. I feel like it's just the trap that every person who is starting out in business falls into. So when that didn't work out, I figured that we still need some money, and I that's why basically I went to work at McDonald's. And throughout that time, I myself knew that it's not going to be forever. This is the reason why I gave that as a piece of advice, because that's exactly what kept me going there. Um, but yeah, I feel like during that journey, I just learned that you need to have a valuable skill to be able to make money. And I didn't before that. So I just, like you just said, I was thinking that if you push a button, you'll become Elon Musk automatically. So that was my journey of learning that it's not actually how it works. Entrepreneurial journey is actually difficult and it takes a long time and you have to put a lot of effort into it. And once I realized that, I actually started doing it with that mindset and making progress.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
that's kind of the timeline for me.
Yeah, but don't worry, everyone. We are going to be launching a new site where we're going to be selling these buttons that you push, and then you'll soon be Elon. No,
Yes, don't worry about it. It will definitely go
it's
out
called
live
the
in the
it's
next
called
few
the
weeks.
Elon it's called the Elon Musk button to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
It's a new drop shipping store. Sophia is going to be
Yep.
launching. I wish it was like that, right? As simple as that. But
Yeah. Yeah.
entrepreneurship almost feels like a journey of development and growth, right? It is not about just the metrics, it's not just about the ideas, but it's about self-improvement, right?
Yeah. 100%.
Entrepreneurship is like a self-improvement journey where you have to grow, in your personal development, in your psychology, in your emotions. Sometimes it's a spiritual journey as well, where you're like, wow, I'm really having to let go and jump and leap into faith and not into fear, and overcome the fears that I have. I know Alex Amosi has the saying, which I really like the fear in entrepreneurship sometimes feels like a lake that's a mile wide, but it's an inch deep. you
Yeah.
know and most of the time the fears are the ones that are tormenting us. And then when we actually confront the fears or step into faith or leap into faith, we realize, oh wow, the fear wasn't that the on the other side of fear, it wasn't too bad, but it was the rumination that I had in my own head that was creating that story. You just dropped these few things, then I want to come back to that. You said you moved countries from
Yeah.
Uzbekistan to the US, and you started 8 businesses in that time frame. So let's go back and talk about your hero's journey a little bit here.
Sure.
Right? You moved from Uzbekistan to here, and then you started the whole journey. Let's go back to Uzbekistan. Before the whole move happened, you moved here with your country.
Yeah.
What was that like? Like the whole move? Why did you move? What was happening? Anything about your story that you'd like to share with people? Because we live in a global society today, and lots of people are moving all the time,
Yeah.
and moving is a big deal. So tell us a little bit about your journey of moving from another country to come to the US.
Yeah. There's a lot of reasons why we did that. I would just try to sum it up. Um, Basically, going for a better life, better lifestyle, I would say. So, yeah, in Uzbekistan is just there wasn't enough opportunities
Mhm.
that my family was looking for, and it wasn't the life that we wanted. So that's basically my summed up reason why we moved to US. We planned it for like 3 years, so it took quite some time. And when you wait for something, basically a third of your life, it is a really big deal once it actually happens. So yeah, I
How long were you guys planning this move? Like, it
yeah
must have been a journey of like even thinking about it, coming up with the idea, actually, thinking about how you're going to do it, where you're going to go. How long was that whole starting from the idea to when you'll actually move?
yeah I would say we started actually thinking about seriously, like actually planning out, trying to come up with the documents and how we're going to do all of this 3 years before we moved. But before that, there was still like that thought, oh, it would be cool to move to US. And it was just a thought always in the back of your mind. It's for most people, I feel like in the Central Asia, just I'll
Yeah.
move to Europe or I'll move to somewhere in the West. So yeah, but again, starting to actually plan it out, it was 3 years before it actually happened. It was 3 attempts. On the third attempt was correct.
Yeah, the power of three.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Sometimes it takes the third time's a charm, they say, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, and then the big move happened, and you moved
yeah.
here with your parents, your siblings. Siblings, I think what you have a
Just
brother,
one. Yeah.
one brother, your pets as well,
Yes.
and then you moved to the US. And you said that you did not speak English before that.
Yeah. I was learning it beforehand, but I was learning like English, not American English. So that didn't really help. And yeah, I knew the grammar, which was probably the main thing that helped me out the most. And after that, I was just able to build up my vocabulary, I would say, over time.
I was surprised the first time you told me this. I was like,
Really?
"What?" It felt like you always spoke English your whole life. And I guess you said you learned American English.
Yes.
Like I wouldn't tell. Like if you didn't tell me the story, I would be like, yeah, you've always spoken English because you're so good at it. Like
I appreciate
I'm,
that.
I'm sure people watching this will be like, what is she talking about? Her English is totally fine. Like so you learned English how many years ago?
2 years ago, I would say it took me like about
That's
9 to 12
incredible.
months. Thank you so much.
That's incredible. 2 years ago, you learned English, and now you're speaking English fluently. You're working and writing, and there's copywriting and speaking and engaging with different people. In our company, you're in so many different meetings all the time, always communicating really, really well. I must give you a lot of kudos for that, because just the transformation that you've had in yourself with language and how to use language to communicate really well is incredible, and which is why we that you are one of our dream team members, because we can see the talent and the level of standard that you bring to the table as well. But what an incredible shift that you've gone through, like shifting everything from like your native tongue to kind of English. What was the hardest part about that transition for you?
Yeah, so for me, I would say the hardest part was actually starting to speak it. I feel like for most people who are learning a new language, especially English, it is that way. It's easier to understand what people say, but it's way harder to actually correctly interpret your thoughts. That's what
Mhm.
I would say was the hardest piece for me. So I started to kind of understand what people are saying just because I got used to the language in about like in a couple of months because I was going to school. So I had a lot of kind of hearing practice there.
Yeah.
But yeah, it took me quite some time to start speaking it.
Yeah. Yeah. And now do you feel comfortable with it? Or you
I
still feel like
do.
you do feel comfortable with
Yeah.
speaking? And, yeah. Because you're completely immersed in it now.
Yeah. I mean, I speak English like 90% of my time. So yeah.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And then you came here to North America, and you started like testing out different startups. Like you started like doing drop shipping and this and that and all of that. And you know now you're here with us. You're an entrepreneur who's working with other entrepreneurs. That's what it takes sometimes in a startup. Multiple entrepreneurs coming together, figuring things out. But that journey of going through all of those kind of trials with the different startups, that must have been hard in its own way as well. And I know a lot of people, in fact a lot of young talent these days, are trying different things. What were the lessons you learned along the way?
I have two. So the main one for me is just you have to stick with things. You can't just start something and then leave it. You have to do something for at least a year. And after that, you can only ask yourself, am I doing enough in order for this to work? This is
Mhm.
number one. And the second one would be not to skip steps. So I've tried to do that a lot, and I feel like a lot of people do that who are starting out. Like, I'm going back to that same Elon Musk button. So it doesn't work like that. You have to actually go through the beginner steps in order for you to receive some kind of results in the future. So you have to learn a skill, you have to practice it, you have to offer it for free in order to get some money. A lot of people try to do the last step first, and you can do that. You physically cannot jump over the ladder.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Because everyone's kind of idealizing. We live in this world, right, which is highlight reel world,
Yeah,
right? Everything that we see, not everything, but a lot of what we see on social media is this beautifully Instagrammable version of someone's life, which is not the reality all the time.
yeah,
And when it comes to entrepreneurship, it's definitely not the reality, because entrepreneurship is just a hard road sometimes. Not sometimes, most of the time, it is a hard road. And it's an evolution of the business, but it's also evolution of the founders, evolution of the people that are working in the business. And most people want to get jump to the highlight reel. And I think that's the reason I wanted to start this podcast. We have this podcast, which is the Try Build Dream Teams podcast, where we are building dream teams together, helping people build their dream teams, so that around their vision, around their values, around the mission, around the purpose, around their why, right? Because when you bring the right people together who also love the mission that you're on, who also resonate with the purpose and the why, there's a whole different level of commitment, a whole different level of innovation and creativity that can be unlocked. How important do you think it is to have the right kind of team around you to build a successful startup versus what most people are trying to do these days, which is the solopreneur journey, which is not even a real business, it's just an identity? What are your thoughts on
yeah.
that?
I would actually say that would be my third lesson. You have to surround yourself with the right people. You have to actually speak to people. You have to try to collaborate with people. Because for me, all of those businesses I've tried by myself. So I didn't have even, back then I didn't know about school. So I didn't have even a community to go to. And
Yes. And when we say
yeah,
school, we're talking about school, SKOOL,
yes, yeah,
school.com, not the regular school or the school of hard knocks.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I figured that when I actually started to, again, surround myself with people, start talking to people, jumping on calls, that's when for me things started to take off. That's when I made my first dollar online. That's when I found out about Trybe, got to know Sheldon. And yeah, you just have to get out there. That would be my third lesson. Like, you cannot do it alone. I had, I would say, the wrong idea for the longest time that you actually have to do it alone. So you like are not allowed any kind of teammate help because you haven't made it yet. But you will only make it with the right people.
Yeah. And that's so important. I mean, I think this was a lesson that I learned a long time back. And I guess, I see this mistake being made by so many people, so many entrepreneurs, where there is a huge transition that entrepreneurs need to go through, which is they have an entrepreneurship mindset, which is I'm the entrepreneur, I'm building this product, it's my product, I'm grinding it out, I'm doing the hustle, all of that. And then we live in the social media world where it's all about grind and hustle, and everyone's talking about it that way. But then to build an actual company, you need to go through a transition in your mind as an entrepreneur to become a leader. So you're shifting from an entrepreneur mindset to a leadership mindset. And a leadership mindset is all about actually letting go of control. It's bringing the right people in, firstly, to connect with your vision, your purpose, your why, right? That's the most important thing. Like, can you be your own evangelist, right? Steve Jobs is a great example of being someone who went out there and was the evangelist for Apple, right? So you need to attract the people to come to you towards your vision. And it's not about you, it's about the mission. And people fall in love with the mission and they go, wow, I want to be part of this, right? And then you have to transition into, okay, now that they're here, I need to let go of this baby that I've built, right? This company, and I have to start letting go of it. And the more I let go, I have to now be able to empower the other people to take on, the responsibilities and lead the people who are in my charge. And very, very few people, especially entrepreneurs early in their career, are able to do that. And I've noticed this a lot with a lot of entrepreneurs that I've spoken to. Very few of them are open to the idea of bringing people into their teams or bringing people into their company or even partnering with people or collaborating. All throughout my journey, I've noticed that business has been a very competitive landscape, and it should be in some aspects, but really businesses should be a collaborative landscape where you're bringing the right people in to work with you, you're bringing the right partners to work with, and you're constantly trying to collaborate with other people, because really business is about service. It's about helping someone else, right? So have you had any conversations with other entrepreneurs who have struggled with this shift from going from an entrepreneur mindset to a leadership mindset? And what has your journey been on that? And what have you learned as an entrepreneur yourself?
I would say that I don't have enough experience to speak on this, but I will do on what I know.
Yeah.
Um, from from when I started to work with Trybe, I learned a lot about leadership, and that's what I'm really grateful for, to be able to actually learn all of this without making the mistakes that would actually impact my future. So
Right.
actually knowing that you have to let go of control at some point, that was probably a really big lesson for me as well. Um, that there is a transition that everybody has to make in order to scale, is to go from entrepreneur to a leader. That's that would be probably the biggest thing for me.
And why do you think people struggle with that? Because we go to school and stuff like that, and we work on projects together, and there is that. I mean, school, the traditional school system is very competitive as well, so I can understand where the competition comes from. But why do you think people struggle with this, bringing people in, or convincing people to come and join them on their mission? and just generally not being able to let go of control. Like, is that a certainty thing? Is it a control thing? Like, what did you experience when you were trying to, build things yourself?
Yeah, so I would say that at some point when I was trying to build out my business, I thought maybe I actually need to bring people in, but
Mhm.
I would say I didn't have enough trust in other people. So
Mhm.
I would think they would mess it up, or what if they will steal from me? Or is there just like, it's one thing when you bring somebody that you know, but it's completely another thing when you bring somebody with a specialty, with a skill. So that's probably one of the things that I can speak for myself, but I feel like a lot of people struggle with that as well.
Yeah.
And yeah, yeah, that's trust, I would say.
Yeah.
And another thing, probably wrong expectations.
Hmm.
And that's for entrepreneurs who are starting their business. They just, like we all, I feel like, get our knowledge mostly from internet. And sometimes people are lucky enough to get mentors who are way ahead of them to be able to tell them what mistakes not to make. But I didn't have a mentor at the time. And on social media, I've not seen one person talk about actually building a team or hiring a team, or that it would actually scale and help you grow your company. That's something that you only have to do after you've made like 100K. It's like, it's really supposed to be something very far off. So I would say it's just the wrong expectations set by the content we consume as well.
Yeah. There's a lot of content out there which is all about grinding it out alone, working hard, 16-hour days, you know, just hustling all the time. Uh, but I ask myself this question, and ask many people who are probably watching this, who are entrepreneurs, going, is that really the type of life you want to live? Like, is that just you know are we just victimizing ourselves here, just trying to be like, oh look, I'm working so hard, and I'm grinding it out, and da, da, da. It's a story, it's a narrative, I get it, but is that the sustainable life we're trying to build? Like, it's so sad sometimes to see this story being repeated and perpetuated in social media and society and stuff like that right now, and it's hard. So this is something we're trying to improve, right, in the world, and I think that's the reason why you joined Tribe. From your point of view, how would you say, if you were giving advice to a young entrepreneur about building teams, and now that you're on a team and you can see the power of what happens when amazing people come together around a shared vision, shared values, how it ignites a lot of creativity and innovation, but also how it ignites this bond, this connection that we have, which helps us to lean on each other, to helps us to, lift each other up, all of that stuff that's happening in team. And there's so much more that I can't even go into right now. Um, how would you help someone who's struggling with this whole, I'm doing this all alone? How do I, what team? What do you mean team? How do I find the team? What are some things you've learned with us at Tribe and what we're teaching people that you can share with them?
I would say how I would do it if I was a young entrepreneur, which I am. But if I would do it, I would figure out what are my vision and values for the company, to actually figure out where I'm going for, what is my why, and what is important to me the most, and stick with that. Then I would figure out my skill deficiency and try to find people who would be who have an efficiency in that skill, for example, sales, and
Yeah.
then try to find them who would align with your vision and values. This way, you can find a person who would, firstly, be a good fit, and secondly, be useful to the company, I would say.
Yeah.
So I feel like those are two main things, but the vision and value comes first, because otherwise you would just bring in the wrong fit. And I would say, when I said that there is not enough trust, it was probably about that, because
Mhm.
people may have different values for themselves. And if you align on those things, it just becomes so much easier.
Yeah, 100%. And it's, yeah, the trust thing is a huge thing, right? Because how do you know who you can trust? And how do you know they're going to be the right fit? Right. And I love that you brought up the vision and values thing. It's a word, these words get thrown around all the time in the corporate world. Like, talk about our vision and talk about our values. Like, what does that really mean at the simplistic way? Like, how is that going to attract the right people that you can trust? Like, is there, like, from everything that we've been teaching people, like, what have you learned that, why does that work?
Yeah. I would say, just to simplify it, mission is what you're doing, vision is why you're doing it, and
Hmm.
values is how you do it. So I would
Yes.
say that is the simple way to put it for a company. And
Yeah.
if you really rely on those, then I would say it's quite difficult to interpret because, like you've mentioned, those words get thrown around and people don't really know the exact meaning of them.
Yeah.
But they are important. They're really important. The vision and values, this is the reason why I'm working at Trybe. This is the reason why I was attracted to the company. So yeah, it's you will just bring in the right kind of people, I would say. If you're still doing all grinding it out and just trying to get by and trying to find your teammates, you will just bring in the wrong fit. It's very unlikely that you will find somebody who actually matches what you're going to do. And I think that everybody has a vision for themselves. You already
Yes.
have that, you just have to put it in correct words in order to attract the same people.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, we all have a vision. We all have a personal brand as well, right?
Yeah.
When we say, "Oh no, I don't have a personal brand. I'm not doing anything on YouTube or LinkedIn." Yeah, that's your personal brand then, because with people will check you out and be like, "He's doing nothing on YouTube and LinkedIn," right? It's
Yeah.
almost like your resume today, right? Your social media profile. But what if you just talked about your mission, your vision, your values? As you said, your mission is something, that people be attracted to because they're like, oh, this is something we do here. Your vision is why we do this, and your values become like your decision making framework around how we do things, right? And we have noticed that every time we've talked about, our mission, our vision, and our values, we attract the exact match people who want to be part of that, not because of the allure of money or the job description or the skill set or anything. Those are all tactical things, and then there's a monetary component to it. It's because they find their identity in it. We are always going to act out of our identities, whatever we believe our identities are as well, by the way, right? And that's the evolution of the entrepreneur, right? And the leader. We're always like evolving in our identities. We're always empowering the next level that we're aspiring to be, right? But when you talk about from a company standpoint, you're talking about your mission, you're talking about your vision, you're talking about your values. You're now attracting the people who want to be part of that because it enables them to self-select the identity that they're aspiring to be, right? So that is where trust is born, right? That is where vulnerability is born. And does vulnerability come first or trust come first? It actually happens simultaneously. Brene Brown talks about this a lot, who have researched extensively, which is trust and vulnerability go hand in hand. And that's where that humanness kind of starts to collide together. We're like, wow, you have a gap in your team that I could fulfill. And by doing that, I now get to embody this new identity that I was going towards anyways. You just create a pathway and a channel for me. How beautiful it is to wake up to that every day, where you can come to be who you're aspiring to become, right? And that is the power behind, helping people to find their vision, helping people to find a way to articulate it, and helping them to articulate their mission and their values. Once they're able to do that as an entrepreneur, they're able to do that. Now they're able to attract the right people who want to embody that as well. And that's where formidable teams come together. If you look at some of the best companies in the world, Google, Netflix, Pixar, Virgin, who have sustained multiple decades, they all started off in some garage or some, basement or something of that sort. Just the founders and just a small startup. All of these companies, we have researched them extensively. All of them started with the human side of things. Like, why are we doing this? Why does this matter in the world? Why should you care? Why should we come together to solve this problem in the world so that we can serve people in this world, right? And continue to serve the people by solving more and more of these problems out there. So it's such a powerful narrative that most people, I think it's got like, it's gotten like tainted by the whole corporate culture sort of thing, like, oh, vision, values. We put up all these words on our website and we talk about freedom and responsibility, but actually the behaviors don't reflect that. So your vision and values are the behaviors that you want to embody in your company, right? And then the other people go, I want to behave like that too. I also want to be part of that same, ecosystem where we can build something where we can get to serve the world. And through the service, we now unlock the impact, the meaning, the connection that we have within ourselves and each other. And we can only do that because we cannot do everything ourselves, right? I cannot be the person who's great at implementation and also be the person who's like being the evangelist. I need a Sofiya in my team to do the implementation. I need my co-founder Jess, who is amazing at structuring processes and project management and all of those things, and building product. And that's how we catch each other's blind spots. That's how we help each other. And that's how we're able to lean on each other. And by the way, what I'm explaining is not just team culture, is how human behavior works. Tribes always formed around people, right? And I don't know what happened in our society and in the way work has gone through, but people have lost trust with each other. So your point about losing trust and not being able to find trust is such a huge problem in society right now, where people are not able to trust each other, not able to raise their hand and ask for help because everyone has been competing with each other and not collaborating with each other. And I truly believe that the future of work is not competition, but it is collaboration, right? So you have experienced collaboration in our workplace. How is that different from an experiential standpoint to doing everything on your own? Because doing everything on your own gives you the certainty, and you're like, I can do this way, and if I fail, I fail. If I get this right, I get it right. But in collaboration, you're letting go of control, you're leading, you're letting someone else lead. How is that different or better from what you've experienced from working alone?
It is 100% better. And
Wow.
I would say that about um, about trust, I feel like it's easier to basically let go of control if people embody the same vision and values as you are, because you trust them more. And for me, it just feels lighter. I cannot find another word for that. I've thought about it for a
Feels lighter.
while.
Like
It
it feels
does.
lighter on you, like the burden is
Yes,
lighter on yourself, right? Okay.
exactly, exactly. It's like you don't have that same feeling as like no one else is going to do it but me. You
Hmm.
don't have that anymore. You have the support, and you have people who have efficiencies in the skills that you don't, and
Hmm.
you can just let them lead in those areas.
Yeah.
So again, I would say that collaboration is 100% the way to go. And if you have the same vision and values, if you, again, value the same things, which are the values, then you can let go of control so much more, so much easier than if you didn't. You just wouldn't trust those
Yeah.
people. And if you did eventually, it would take a very long time.
Yeah. 100%. Like just for someone, if someone is listening to this, I want to explain our vision and values a little bit and how we use it as a decision making framework. Our vision is, as I said earlier, we envision a world where leaders are transforming the workplace into thriving communities. Now, when I say this out loud to someone who really resonates with this, I know that they are potentially a great fit, right? Soon as they go, wow, that's a great aspiration. And then I say, we want to see a world where million founders are building workplaces that are, fulfilled and happy and thriving. And we want to see billion people who are fulfilled and happy at work. And they're like, wow, that's such an good aspiration. I want to be part of that. And then I talk about our values, which is see the person first, support the rumble, and make things actionable. Say tomorrow, and when I say tomorrow, the hypothetical tomorrow, the metaphorical tomorrow, some investor comes to me and says, hey, I'll give you $20 million or $100 million, right? But the first thing I want you to do is to fire 10 of these people. Immediately, I know that's going against our values because it's not seeing the person first. It's definitely not supporting the people in their rumble. And it's not something I want to make actionable. And you see how that becomes a very immediate decision making framework for me as a leader in the company. If one of our working with us, someone comes and tells them, some partner or someone comes and says, hey, you should do it this way. Let's do it like, in this unethical way. We're like, and it'll hurt these people, but who cares? Immediately you can say, no, that's not seeing the person first. That's not supporting them in the rumble, and that's not making things actionable. And that's what we mean by have a vision where you know the direction that you're going into, right? Because that's your guiding light, right? And then have a framework of values that you want to stand up for. It's your belief system, right? And sometimes it's difficult to articulate it down into like three things like we have. And that's why we teach a lot of people how to do that, because we have these 25 ideas as entrepreneurs and we're like, yeah, these are all my values. Great. Let's consolidate them, make them into, different buckets, and then narrow it down. So it's difficult to find the right kind of trust in people if you haven't done the basics and the foundation. And I think, Sofiya, you've built something for our community in school, actually, in school, school.com. And you created something. Sofiya actually spearheaded this with my co-founder, Jess, and it's called the Trybe Games, which actually helps people to articulate their vision and values. And you gamified the whole experience, so it's fun, where they can gather around teams and build and create their values and create their vision alongside other entrepreneurs. Do you want to talk to people a little bit about that? The Trybe Games, you've built such an amazing, solution, which doesn't feel like homework, but it feels like a community coming together to help each other and solve this problem in the front end of their business. What are the Trybe Games? How can it help someone?
Yeah, first off, thank you so much. And second, yes, the Trybe Games, I worked on it with Jess. And I was talking about the vision and values, but it is because I'm just so, I would say, involved in that. And because I've spent so much time just actually going through the course and trying to figure out what will be the most compelling thing to do for people, I would say that I can just clearly see that it's important to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I've tried to make it a challenge. So, because people do like to be competitive, and there are groups of people, groups of three, and you go through the challenge and you create your vision and values step by step. You do it over the course of 10 days or 2 weeks. Yeah, I mean, it's genuinely a fun challenge, I would say, because you get to experience, first of all, actual team, because there are roles in the team, and you can be the leader, you can be the implementer, you can be the campaigner. So there's a bonus in that. And yeah, I would say the thing that I love the most about how it is right now is that it actually gives you time to really think about your vision and values. It doesn't rush you through it, and you actually have some time to truly reflect on yourself and what you want in the future. I would say that's what I was happy the most to be able to have there, because we actually have days to just reflect.
Yes.
And yeah, and that way, since it's 2 weeks, yeah, 14 days, I was going to say that together. But yeah, you actually don't have to spend as much time in it. You can spend like 30 to 60 minutes a day, like just however you complete the tasks. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I can say much about it,
Yeah.
because you have to just go through it, and it's really fun, I would say.
Yeah. I think that's the thing that you've done really well with this, because making it fun is important, right? Everything in entrepreneurship can seem very hard sometimes, especially if you're doing it alone. And this is why we encourage people who are at the start of the journey, right? Why don't you come along and have some fun and build your lead magnets? That's what we call it. They're like your magnets. It's like your bat signal. Your vision and values are your lead magnets that attract the right people. You don't have to go chasing for these people. They will come to you because they resonate with what you're doing in the world, the purpose that you're trying to create in the world, and they will resonate with your why. So I'm like very excited for the Trybe Games and everything that you and Jess have built together. It was an idea that you actually came to us with. You're like, hey, what if we did something called the Trybe Games? And I was like, see, I would have never had that idea, right? But because I let go as a leader, this is literally what we've been talking about. You came into our company, embodied the vision and values that we have here, and now you came with the new creative solution of helping other entrepreneurs to find their own voice, to find their own why. And it's such a beautiful process, and we get to serve a lot of people through that. And I'm very, very proud of you, Sofiya, for creating that. and creating an initiative that can help so many entrepreneurs, right? And thank you so much for doing that. And it's such a huge initiative that you pulled together, and I can see so many entrepreneurs benefiting from it, and so many entrepreneurs finding their voice, finding their way to talk to other people about what they're doing in the world. And it's such a, like, it doesn't even matter, like for me, it's like, can it's a game that you get to play, and it doesn't even matter if you make money on it or not. It's not about the money. It's about actually helping people so that they can find, their path, find what's next for them as well. So thank you so much for doing that. I appreciate it so much.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for all of that. And I believe now you just displayed what a good leader is. You just embodied it right now. And that's why I love working at Trybe. You get so much positive reinforcement, so much positive feedback on everything, and so much support. It may be hard to believe for somebody who didn't experience it, but this is what I'm experiencing every day.
Yes.
Just positivity, just healthy workplace.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that. That is something I've been working on for a very, very long time, and trying to be a good leader who empowers the people who's in my charge. And in fact, if you think about the world a little bit, the world is divided into two camps. If you had to simplify it, the rulers and the leaders, right? The rulers are the ones who want to have power over other people, and the leaders want to empower other people. You see how different that feels? The words are just just mixed around a little bit. Someone who wants power over people and someone who wants to empower people. It's a very different intention, right? And I think this is why so many people are frustrated in the workplace, because they're coming across authorities who are in positions of power, trying to hold power over other people, trying to dominate, intimidate, do all of these kind of tactics, where human beings don't actually respond to that. We get threatened by that. But if you have someone who's a leader who's trying to empower you, they're trying to lift you up, they're trying to enable you to find the best version of yourself, like a coach and a mentor, that's a whole different feeling. It's a whole different way of igniting creativity and innovation. And we embody that a lot at Trybe, and we're trying to teach a lot of people about that. But coming back to something which I said, I was very proud of you for creating the Trybe games. Is there something that you are very proud of that you can look back, a story, a memory of your entrepreneurial journey that you're like, wow, that has really shaped me? And what would that story or memory be that you can share with someone?
Yes, I would say that is a distinct memory for me. So that was actually the time, it was over a year ago when I realized that I'm actually skipping over steps and I'm actually not looking at the whole picture. I'm actually just trying to make quick money. And that was just a realization moment for me that I'm very proud I realized early on. And I didn't actually took some time to think about it. And that made me, I would say, changed the way I look at business, because I set the right expectations for myself and decided to actually be consistent without expecting anything in return.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah. Don't skip over the steps.
Yes.
Go through the journey, right? Yeah, I totally resonate with that. I mean, I talk about this as well in team meetings and stuff like that. It's like, for me, building a business is like taking care of a garden, right? Don't plant a seed today and expect some fruit tomorrow. It's not going to happen. It is not natural. And if someone is trying to sell that to you, that's not real business. That's just some scam that they try to sell to you, right? A business is something that you have to nurture. You have to nurture the people, you have to nurture the intentions, you have to nurture the service that you're trying to put out in the world, right? And it's the seeds that you plant today are not going to bear just one fruit. One seed doesn't bear one fruit. It bears fruit by growing into this massive tree that bears fruit for multiple generations. And that's the work that we're trying to do as entrepreneurs, right? As leaders and entrepreneurs, we need to kind of, embody this natural process of, we have to show up, to take care of what we're trying to build, whether it's the product, whether it's the people, whether it's the communities, the service, whatever we're trying to build. Don't skip over the steps. It's important to take all the steps, because that's part of the journey, because each step actually enables us to become a better version of ourselves, to understand who we are, right? So let's wrap up the podcast. This has been such a great conversation, but let's end with what's one piece of advice you would give to your younger version of yourself?
I would say we went over basically the advices that I would give. But if I only had to choose one, it would be set the right expectations. I
Mhm.
think that would be the one thing that would change the way you do things the most. Because again, if you expect to get money right away, it will burn you out.
Yeah.
It's that simple. And if you set the right expectations, you expect yourself not to be able to do certain things. You expect yourself to be able to let go of control at a certain point. And it just becomes a part of the journey. And
Yes.
you learn to enjoy the journey. So set the right expectations right away.
I love that. Set the right expectations and enjoy the journey. It is not just about the destination, but it's
Yes,
about the process and the journey that you are on, and enjoy it with the right people. Find your
exactly.
own tribe, find your own people. It is much
Yes,
more fun with the right people, and you don't feel isolated and lonely along the way. Uh,
yes.
Thank you so much for that advice, Sophia, and thank you so much for spending time today on this podcast. You've really, really, helped us to kind of get to know you, and I hope you've inspired a lot of people along the way, with all the things that you've told us today about your journey as well. We definitely want to keep doing podcasts like this. Where I'll invite different team members from our team to join and talk about their own hero's journey, to talk about their own stories, what they're learning, what they're evolving. And I definitely want to bring you back on another podcast as well, Sophia. This has been great. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Of course, of course. This has been great for me as well. And just as a postscriptum, this is how me and Sheldon usually spend our time on Tuesdays because we just have our calls when we simply talk. And that was just another talk for me. So, yeah, it was great being here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Thank you for coming onto the podcast. Yes.
Sure.
And we encourage everyone to keep building dream teams. You deserve more and you're worthy to achieve
Yes.
that. So keep going out there, do good in the world, and build dream teams together.
Well said.
Cheers, guys. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.